Ogo, happy Sundays. Nice to see you here. Hi, Dominic. I see you. Hi, happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday to everyone. Ugo, thank you. Thank you. Dominic, thank you for being here. Happy Sunday. It's a privilege to be alive again this Sunday. It's a privilege to be able to see another Sunday. And thank you all for joining me. We're just going to jump right into it. Today, my name is Ola Additional. I am Ola of All Things Natural. Some people call me Ola. Some people call me by my full name, Ola Jumoke. Some people call me All Things Natural. I am the founder of All Things Natural, and we use herbs to treat skin and hair problems. And briefly, this Sunday, we are going to be talking. Speaking about a very important topic that is very dear to my heart. And I hope and I believe that so many people are going to learn from today's topic. And this is a topic that affects almost everybody that I know, kind of have experienced what we are talking about today. And today I have a dear friend of mine that will be joining us on this live video, and she'll be shedding more light on this topic and telling us about the way forward. And the topic today is alopecia. What is alopecia? Alopecia is just hair loss. That's just the definition of alopecia. Alopecia is hair loss. And I have noticed that 1 in 2 women lose their hair. There's always stories of, I comb my hair falls out, I'm thinning, my edges is thinning, I'm getting bald in some spots. There's always something about hair loss. And in as much as people are trying to look for solutions, on hair loss, on alopecia, I feel like it is very important to actually know the kind of alopecia that you suffer from, and that's how to start from. That's the way to start, is to actually know what you're suffering from before you know the kind of treatments that you are supposed to get. And this afternoon, I'm going to be inviting Dominic Cooper, all the way from Virginia. I'm going to invite her into this video right now.
Hi.
Hi, Dominic. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You're looking so good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
so
you
much.
are. You're looking beautiful, and I am jealous.
Oh, not with all those lovely locks that you have.
Good to have you here. Happy Sunday.
Thank you for having me. It is my honor to be here. Every opportunity I get to talk about alopecia, Lyme disease, or whatever, I'm all for it.
Thank you. It is a privilege to have you here too. Thank you so much. And I hope that everybody is going to be able to learn, from your world of experience. And I feel like when you're talking about a topic, it's better to let somebody that has actually dealt with it, be able to address it and tell you exactly exactly what to expect, what it is all about. And that's why I have you here. I am privileged. It is a privilege to have you here, and thank you for joining me today. And we are going to try to jump right into it. And
Okay.
today's topic is about alopecia. We're talking about alopecia. And before we start, I just want you to introduce yourself for the benefit of those who don't are watching us right now and they're wondering what are we talking about. I want you to introduce yourself and take
Mhm.
that time to also share your story.
Okay. So as she said, my name is Dominique Cooper. I have alopecia. I've had it for over 25 years. Uh, that's my introduction. My story, I guess, will follow that. Let's see. So for many years, I hid behind wigs and weaves, and my hair loss was a little bit different from some with alopecia. It was a slow progression. It was a very slow progression in the beginning. So I could hide it for a very long time without anyone ever knowing. But then as time went on, and it was the Lyme disease just helped to just progress it. And before long, it started just falling out quickly.
Mm.
And so again, I had options, and my options were weaves. And I remember getting the very first one. I was nervous about it. And one thing, the reason I'm bringing that up is because one of my girlfriends, she worked with me during the time. And again, this was many, many years ago. And
Mm.
she said to me, it doesn't matter if it's real hair, your hair or not. What really matters is if it looks good. So we're just going to, set out to find you someone that could do a really, really good weave. And then you're just going to embrace it. As long as it looks good, that's all we're going to worry about. And I was like, okay. And so I held on to that for many years until I got tired of it. Like she said to me, just be yourself. Just when you have it done, just be yourself. Just, if you don't make a big deal out of it, then maybe other people won't either. Just go in, go back to work, and just be Dharma. And I went from, like thin hair, cute little hairstyle. I'm sorry, that's my dog. To, Nitty, can you get her, please? Thin hairstyle to, I came back to work with this, because it was a full head of weave, so it was then a lot of hair. And so it began to, when I looked in the mirror, I was, a little bothered by it, but I remembered what she said. And I promise you, Ola, from that day to this day, I held on to those words as long
Yeah.
as it looks good. And you just be yourself. So, um, that's what I did. And I did it for over 25 years. Until I actually got tired of it. There were some things that helped me to make my decision. Some of the reasons why I decided to go completely bald, but that's pretty much the gist of how it all got started for me.
Okay. But what do you do? What do you do, Dominic? What do you do? What are you into? I know
hmm
that you have a business and I want you to share that with us.
I do. Okay, thank you so much. So my business is, the name of my company is Honey's Natural, and it's I didn't wake up one day and just wanted to start a business. My business came from a need, like a lot of ours, our home based business, they
Mm.
usually come from a need. But mine came by way of Lyme disease, which kind of sent me into celiac disease. So that means that I'm gluten free. I can't have any gluten. To some, it's a fad, but for me, it's truly a lifestyle. Like I can't have gluten. I'm allergic to it. And so once I found out, we had to go through a bunch of stuff in order to get our house cleaned from gluten, throw away all of our foods, everything from the
Mhm.
refrigerator and all of that. And we got all of that done, and I went 100% gluten free, but I still, every now and then, I would get sick and I just couldn't figure out why. And my gastroenterologist, then, he's retired since then, said that sometimes people can be so sensitive within their celiac disease that,
Mm.
even the least amount of it will affect them. And so you may want to look into getting it out of your products. So I
Okay.
started searching for products that didn't have gluten in it. I have Lyme disease, so I needed my products to be toxin free because the treatment that I'm on is extremely um, it's strict, and for a lack of better words, and in order for it to work, your body needs to be as clean as possible. So gluten wasn't a choice for me. I had to get rid of that. But then toxin free was another thing. That was a choice that, you know, I made in order to have my Lyme disease treatments to take effect as best as they possibly could. So I started learning how to get rid of the toxins out of our diet, and then learning how to get it out of the products. And I started learning how to detect what toxins and gluten was, first of all. And once I started, you know, through research, being able to determine I can't use any of the stuff that's in my house. And so I had to start from scratch. And once I learned how to make one thing, I would ditch that, and then I would go on to another. And sooner rather than later, because it actually happened pretty quickly, I started feeling even better. I started, because I come from, you know, like a bunch of healthcare stuff. Like I've had a couple of mini strokes and stuff like that. And, you know, just a bunch of stuff that once I went gluten-free, I started, even though I knew I had all these other things going on, I still started feeling better. And I got the toxins out of my diet and out of my products, and I started feeling a lot better. So the name of the company is Honey's Natural, and it's a skincare company. We have a face line that's called Glow. That's where I started with like laundry detergents and stuff like that, but we don't sell those. Where it's a skincare line. And so I first did like a nice body butter. You know, you and I have that in common. I made a nice body butter, you know, after trying and trying and trying and formulating, you finally get it right.
Yeah.
And that did pretty good. And then I needed something for my face, and so I formulated, you know, piece by piece a face line. And so I did all of that before I even had any thought about shaving my head. And so I started getting just tired of the weeds. You know, the money that I was spending on them and the quality of the product was going down, but the prices were going higher. And I just, it was just my time. So once I shaved my head, I embraced it. I embraced being bald immediately, but it didn't embrace me because I started breaking out really, really badly with all these unsightly bumps, and they were painful. I had like scarring and just a lot of stuff. I embraced the bald head, but the after shaving, it prevented me from doing a lot of things. Like we've missed, I said this in another interview, like we missed a couple outings because I was too ashamed of. So I went from being ashamed of being covered and not letting my bald head show to being ashamed of, now I'm walking in the street with this bald head, but I have all these unsightly bumps and stuff like that all everywhere. So I started, you know, digging in, you know, to the research, YouTube, what is it, school of, what do they call YouTube University or whatever they call it, and just started researching on Google and just, you know, doing everything that I could. Of course, we have Eden, our friend in common, you know, who's, you know, she just knows everything about skincare. And so I just had to try and find something that I could use because there was nothing on the market. Even in the health food stores here where I am right now, there's nothing local on the market for bald people, period, that I've seen that I can use that doesn't have any fragrance in it, that's toxin free, and then of course it has to be gluten free. So I started making things, just trying to figure it out. And little by little, I started getting a little better with something. It took me almost a year and a half to formulate something that would work for me. But once I did, I was so happy about it. And in my process of researching what will work well for my scalp and people like me that can't do a lot of toxins, I started running across a lot of other beautiful, brave, bold women and men that had the same problem that I have. When they shave, they bump up. You know, they have, you know, like hyperpigmentation and stuff like that. And so I started sending out some of what I created to some other fellow baldy boos or people with alopecia. And I got really good feedback. And it's called Free Dome. And it's a scalp care system created for alopecians and baldies. We like to say for bald, brave, beauties, and brogues. And again, it took me a while to get one formulated that would work well, but it's been received very well by the baldy community. And I take, very little to no credit for it. I tell anybody that will listen that all of this is just God, because I never asked for any of this. I didn't pray for any of it. It just happened to come to me, and then I have this tool that I can use to help other people.
Good. And so, there's so many people. 6 people is a lot of people, right? 6 people is a lot of people.
It is. It's on a Sunday.
Yeah. So there's 3 people here sending beautiful comments to you. Beautiful Dome. There's 2 special girls saying that you're looking good and chic. And someone said you look very amazing. And I told you, you look good. You look very good. And
thank you, everyone.
All right. So I guess my next question would be, how did you come to terms with your diagnosis? I know it's a lot. It might be a little bit difficult to finally lose your hair gradually, and then all of a sudden everything is gone. Some people lose their edges, and that bothers them. See, all of my edges. This bothers me a lot. And then for you to completely lose your hair, how did you come to terms with that realization?
Like I said earlier, you know what I've come to realize, because I didn't understand this at first. I really didn't, and I have to just keep it real. I know no other way to do it, but I honestly believe that I was shielded through all of the shame that I could have had, all of the hurt, depression that the majority or a lot of my fellow baldies and alopecians have to endure. I didn't deal with that. You know what I did? I guess I dealt with it in another way, because I'm sure it came out in some other way. I suppressed it very deeply. Like I suppressed it as far as I could get it down, because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't know what my scalp looked like. When I go to the salon to get my hair done, they always kept me turned away from the mirror. Like I didn't want to see it. I didn't want any parts of it. I didn't even, I denied it so much so that I convinced myself that the hair that I wear was mine. It was all me. And that's how I carried it. I didn't do it any other way. I convinced myself that it was mine. And I suppressed it. And the only time I dealt with it was when I had to go to the salon. And each time I had to go to the salon, it was just this big to-do. It's like, I would get sick and nauseous. Sometimes I would cry to my husband, not like cry, but like, here I go again. I'm going to have to deal with this. He never saw what my head looked like. He didn't know the state of it or any of that, but I would still have conversation with him. He knew that the hair that I was wearing wasn't my hair, but he didn't know just how bad it really was. And so I would go to the salon, and I've been so blessed with having people that they showed me grace. Each stylist that I've had, they've shown me grace. Like 2 of them would come to my house to do my hair, because, the thinner it got, I just don't want to just be sitting out in the salon, and everybody, just. So one of them, she like created a private room just for me. And when I outgrew her technique, because I would be okay, and then I would outgrow that technique because my hair was constantly thinning. And so I made my way onto someone who was a little bit more experienced with weave that could, really do a good job. And she would come to my house to do it. I had a full-blown busy salon, but she would come to my house to do mine. And so that was really the only time I dealt with what I was going through. Now, I would be willing to bet that I dealt with it in a whole bunch of other ways. I just didn't, I wasn't cognizant of it, because in order to suppress something so, like my whole physical appearance has changed, and I just didn't deal with it. I was like, I don't know if you ever saw Gone with the Wind. I was like Scarlett O'Hara, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I never dealt with it. Like every day was a new day that I wasn't going to deal with it. And that was how I coped. Now, again, I'm quite sure it came out in some other ways, because you don't get to, just live a lie like that and it not affect you in some way. I don't know how, but I believe that so that I could be here today and talk about it and help other people with it. I have my page, Freedom. I have a YouTube channel, Freedom. I believe that I was just shielded from it all, because I needed to be strong during this season so that I can help other people understand that, how we look how other people see us is none of our business. That's their business.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I had to embrace, and that's my platform, and that's what I try to get other Alopecians and people, that are bald for whatever reason, to understand that obviously this is how we're supposed to be right now. Why be hot when you can be cool? It's like all these things, like I've been there, and I know what all of it is like. And the only regret that I have over is that I didn't do it sooner. And so that's what if I can just inspire somebody to understand that once you do it, you're going to be like, I wish I would have done this a whole lot longer ago. It would have saved me, anyway, a bunch of money. I did have stress and heartache each time I had to go to the salon. And, just overall, I'm happy with the decision that I've made. I can't explain it, because most of the women that I talk to, they've had severe depression. Some of them are still very depressed. Some of the men too, they have a very hard time accepting it. Of course, the children, they seem to do better than some of the adults, but because society puts so much on us. It's like, if you don't have hair, then you definitely can't be beautiful, and you definitely can't be handsome. Like, you have to have hair. And the only reason we feel so bad about it, I believe, is because that's what society says. But if we would only just look at ourselves, like when I look at all those bald people on my Instagram page, I really think all of them are beautiful. And when I see them with hair, I'm like, take that off. Ew. Like, it's like, this is how you should look right now. Like, unless your hair, God decides to grow my hair back or grow their hair back, I feel like this is how we are supposed to be right now. And when honestly, when you see a bald person put a wig on, I mean, no shade, because I feel that women should be able to do whatever they want to do to feel comfortable and beautiful. Whatever. I did it for years, so I'm not throwing any shade. But I just really see something different. I have these eyes to see their true beauty. And when I see their hair, I'm like, ew, please, you look so much better without it. And I'm not just saying it, I really do believe it. Like, I want them all to just try to find their freedom, because there's nothing like it. Like, I know now I was living a lie. I was living, just caught up, like literally in a masquerade my entire life. Everything about me, it did revolve around my hair. You're not going to catch me without it. So that means I wasn't really embracing who I was.
Yeah, true. Basically, I feel like there's some things in life that we cannot help.
Right.
If you cannot help it, I guess you just have to find a way to deal with it.
Right. That's right.
That's just it. All right. So with that being said, what are the different kinds of alopecia that we have that you know about?
There are many kinds. The ones that I tend to focus on, especially on my page, like I talk about them all, but the ones that are most familiar and the ones that we deal with most are, alopecia areata. That's it in a nutshell. Then it goes
Mm.
from, that's what I have. So I have hair, I still have body hair. I still have eyelashes. I still have eyebrows and nose hair. I just don't have hair on my
Mm.
head. My
Mm-hmm.
hair is on some parts of my head will grow probably like Rapunzel's if I let it, but it's dead, it's ugly, it's weak, it looks like the most ugly, strain of hair or grain of hair ever because, the follicles have just been, um, but so then
Mm-hmm.
you have alopecia totalis, and
Mm.
you lost your hair all over your head. And let me just say this, sometimes alopecia doesn't always result like mine is now. It starts off patchy sometimes, and people can live with those patches and cover them for a lifetime. It may not spread. Alopecia is extremely unpredictable. It's different per person. And then it's
Mm.
different within that person. Like you could have no hair today, like I haven't had hair in a few years, and next year I could have a hair full of hair, and 6 months later I could be completely bald again.
Mm.
Scientists have not been able to determine why that is. Alopecia
Mm-hmm.
universalis is when you lose all of your body hair. So those
Mm-hmm.
people, they suffer more than just, the stigma of not having hair. They don't have eyelashes, and we never know how much our eyelashes, how important they really are. We need our lashes, like they help to protect our eyes from particles and things that we can't even see.
Mm.
They don't have nose hair, so their noses just runs all the time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, their noses run like all the time because they don't have any nose hair. Like we'll be surprised too at just how much our nose hairs, are important. Like we don't even think about this stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even body hair. Like I've heard some say that their body hairs prevent them from doing stuff like maybe even getting burned because, you can feel when you're close, like your
Mm-hmm.
hair is like they
Yeah.
say will stand up. So
Mm-hmm.
hair on our bodies is there for a reason. It's more than just aesthetically we look funny. There are other things that's going on behind the scenes that people just don't know about. We have the female pattern baldness. That's what I thought I had initially because my dad was bald through here. But, I've been tested and everything, so I do have alopecia. Um, those are the ones that we kind of see more frequently.
Mm.
And I just want to say some people in the beginning, like in the beginning when I first found out, I tried treatments. I never did any injections or anything like that. I've heard that they can be very painful. Some people get results, most people do not. But and then there are some topical solutions that I've used some topical solutions, and some of them I personally don't know anybody that they've worked for, but I've seen in some of my baldy groups where some people may have had some positive reactions from it, but ultimately it goes person by person. There is no rhyme or reason why some people get their hair back and some people don't. There's really no rhyme or reason why people get alopecia in the first place. Like,
Mm.
some people may be able to track theirs to certain things. Obviously, if you have cancer, and you're in chemo or maybe lupus, MS, some of those kind of autoimmune diseases, Lyme disease, I know wholeheartedly that's what everything started with me with Lyme disease. But there is no cure for alopecia.
Okay.
It's,
Uh, okay. I know that amongst Black women, traction alopecia and traction
Mhm.
is, I feel like, is the most common, and that
It
happens. Yeah, that happens when you have tight braids. You're constantly braiding your hair. There's some pulling, especially around the perimeters of the hair, which happens to be like the weakest part of the hair. So traction is very
Mhm.
common, especially amongst Black women that
That's right.
constantly have the
Really.
weaves and the weaves and all of that. Uh, For traction, I feel that it can always grow back as long as your hair follicles is not damaged. If it's not
Right.
something that you've been doing for, you know, it's been ongoing for a lot of years and then it's damaged. If it's something that you just, you know, kind of just happen to be doing and then you stop, it's likely that it's going
Mm-hmm.
to go back. But if you've been doing it for a long time and your hair follicles is dead, I'm sorry, there's no hair oil, there's no hair treatment, there's nothing that's going to bring it back. And
That's right. That's true.
the one that you were talking about, alopecia areata, the one that has to do with the autoimmune system. But now, how do we get testing? How do you know what type of alopecia you have? I remember when I started noticing that, you know, I was losing hair on my edges. It started how with me being pregnant, and then
That's another one.
2 months. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
postpartum alopecia. And 2 months into after I had my baby, I was losing my hair, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then when I got pregnant again with my second son, I started noticing, and then that's when I realized this must have something to do with me being pregnant. And
Mm-hmm.
but it progressed. You know, I thought 10 years ago was when I had my first son. I have 3 boys now, and I had a third one 3 years ago. And I realized that my hedges just never grew back. I never
Mm-hmm.
recovered from it. And that really bothered me. So one day I said, you know what, I'm just going to go see my dermatologist. So I went and I shared with him what I was feeling. And then he said, oh, there's no doubt that what you're suffering from is alopecia. But for us to be able to know what kind of alopecia, I need to make an incision on your scalp and do some biopsy. At the thought of biopsy, I took off. I was like, bio what? You have to make an incision on my scalp. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's not that serious. It's just hair loss. You know, there's no way. I
Right.
never went back till now. And I know that is the same story for so many people, losing their hair but not knowing what kind and trying all kinds of treatment, and it seems as if nothing is working. So how do you encourage people like that? What step do they take?
So I'm in several baldy groups on Facebook. One in particular is called the Bald Queendom. I love that group. It's full of all bald women, and so I get a lot of opinions, a lot of stories, and the majority of people don't know. Like, I did have a biopsy when I was diagnosed to tell me that I had alopecia, which I already knew. I didn't understand. I don't even know that I knew the word alopecia. As I knew the word, but I didn't know, I just thought you have some hair thinning or anything. I never knew I would lose all of my hair. But there are a lot of women that they don't know. They believe they've lost their hair through pregnancy, because we know that can happen. I think we're stuck. Okay. Yeah, you can lose it
I can
through
hear you.
pregnancy. You like you said, traction alopecia. Sometimes we know. Sometimes we can say, I know mine came out from traction alopecia. Like, if you know that, you can see that. That's something you can see over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I know people though that have had braids. I know people that have had braids, and as soon as they took that set out, their hair came out with the braids, and it never came
Mm-hmm.
back. So, but we know traction alopecia, it is what it is, and it's unfortunately there's nothing to grab there to braid to even get it to come back. Like, I see a lot of people, I see a lot of hair growth products and stuff like that, and I'm quite sure some of them may be effective. But for me, what I would do, and my advice to people, is to not, if you're going to get your hair braided, please, by all means, be careful, because we
Mm-hmm.
have to know, like, if you look in the Black community, edges, they're a big thing. Everybody got edge control that you
Mm-hmm.
can move once you put it on, and just your edges are so important. They look all decorated all around and all smooth and circular right there. And they're important. If you have hair, you want edges, you know what I mean? But there should probably be some sort of education around, because we also we love our braids. Like I love braids, and I love, you know, box braids, and I love all the braids. I love the concept of them. But there should be some sort of education around all braiding isn't fair. And honestly, everybody can't wear braids. Everybody's hair isn't strong enough to pull it off. And so maybe there should, because I hate it. I see so many, and especially in the Black community, with just their hair starts all the way back here. And they're still getting braids. They're still getting braids. Yeah, And, you know, there's just, I think just maybe not enough education around it. I think sometimes a lot of it could be like that the money is involved, you know, the quicker you get them out, the more you can get them in. But it is definitely something that's really hurting our community, because what it's doing is forcing people into wearing weaves permanently. Because, you know, everybody isn't going to want to shave all of their hair off. And they're going to continue to get, you know, traction alopecia because they're continuing to get those styles. The only advice that I would have to that is to, you know, test, like we say with other products, like with our products, test an area of your hair first. You know, just get a couple braids done in a inconspicuous area somewhere, you know, around the hairline, just to see how your hair may hold up. I don't know how many people would even be willing to do that. But I'm glad you did bring that up, though, Ola, because it is a real problem in our community. It really is. And there are no cures again, no real solutions. The best I can say is, you know, like, be sure that you have the type of hair, you know, that can withstand such pressure, because that's what it is. It's just pressure on the scalp. And another thing that I've learned about alopecia, like in my case, there's absolutely nothing probably wrong with my hair follicles. It's not a hair disease as much as it is a skin disease. You know, we look at it as a hair disease, it's more so of a skin disease. So one of the dermatologists that I had early on, she was like, you have lots of hair under your scalp. We just can't get it to come out. So, you know. Yeah.
And we fail to realize that the scalp is a skin. So many people don't even realize that the scalp is also a skin that needs to be taken care of. And I think a part of the problem that we face is people are not ready to change their lifestyle. You know, when somebody approaches me and they're like, my hair is falling off constantly, and I ask them, how do you take care of your hair? And it's like they're in braids, they're in wigs, it's crochet, it's all kinds of style. Some people, 365 days in a year, they don't leave their hair out. They're always in wigs, always in weaves. And when these people approach me, I tell them, I said, it's your lifestyle. You need to be able to give up something for you to see what you want to see. So if you want to see good hair growth, if you want your edges to stop falling out, if you want full hair, you need to be able to know how to take care of your natural hair. You cannot keep doing natural hair and all of those styles, and there's not going to be any progress. Something has to give. But the problem is that most people are not ready to give anything. Oh, if I don't do the weaves, if I don't do the braids, how do I carry my hair? How did I in those times where there was no wigs, there was no human hair? How would they do it? So I feel like there has to be a lifestyle change. There has to be change in your lifestyle for you to see the results that you want. If you're not ready to change your lifestyle, then sorry, it's like somebody buying your product and you say, oh, you put it on your scalp twice a day, and they do it once in a month. You're not going to see any difference. There will be no difference. So we need to be deliberate about the choices that we make to be able to care for our health. All right.
Let me just say too. I want to say, you say lifestyle, yeah, absolutely, and mindset, because we've like, and I'm guilty of it. So again, this is no shade, none of the
Mm,
above or below. It's just me, just my opinion, and just me just speaking on what I've come to realize in my own journey is that it's a mindset.
mm,
Like the way your hair is right now.
mm,
I'm just keeping it real. There's no way I would have wanted my hair to look like that back in the day.
mm,
Like, what?
mhm.
Ew.
Yeah.
No, I wanted it straight. I wanted a relaxer. I wanted some
Mm,
bounce. And that sort of thing. Now I'm like, oh, look at that beautiful hair on her head. Because that's how our hair, some of our hair, is supposed to look just like that. But we don't embrace
mhm.
that. We just go back to what society says. It looks very straight, and especially if it's 29 inches, and it's you hit the nail on the head. We have to change our lifestyle. We have to make
Mm,
the future more important than just living for today. And living for today
mhm.
said, I'm going to, like you said, crochet and weave and butter and da 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 da. And then the future, you may not have any hair. You might be like me. And so
Mm,
if you don't have an underlying condition and you want to have a healthy head of hair, you have to embrace that sister girl stuff. Embrace it.
mm,
If I could do it all over again, I would never. A relaxer on my hair, all those toxins and chemicals. Oh, no.
mm,
Mm-mm. And I probably
mhm.
would still have my hair. That only helped to catapult the situation, just continuing to put all the toxins in it. It only made it worse. But I'm glad that you did bring that up. It's lifestyle change. It's hard. It's difficult. And it's also
Mm,
mindset. I hear a lot of people, I don't know if my sister is on here, but she's always like, she now she has sister locks, so that's just on her hair. But
mm.
before, and we call them protective styles, but they're not really protecting anything if they're, tight and
Dampen, pulling.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. I just wanted to mention that.
All right. You talked about Lyme disease. I was of the opinion that it was a cure, that Lyme disease has a cure. But now that I'm hearing from you, there's absolutely no cure, no treatment for celiac, no treatment for Lyme, no treatment for any kind of alopecia.
There are treatments. So for, like I said, for alopecia, you have injections that people may try. They may want to try some topical stuff, and some things do work. Lyme disease, the CDC will say, and this is true. Now, this is true. If you have a tick bite and you're aware of the tick bite, and you go to, say, a patient first or some sort of urgent care, and they acknowledge that it's Lyme disease, and they give you a round of antibiotics. They'll usually give you a 2 week, but if you can get them to give you a month's worth, maybe even 2 months worth, you'll probably be okay with the Lyme disease. But that's
Okay.
not the case. They want you to think that that's how it usually happens, but it doesn't. People get bitten in their heads, on their back, on the bottom of their feet, in between their toes. You don't see it. They say
Mhm.
it's easy to discover and easy to eradicate, but it's the opposite. It's difficult to find, extremely difficult to diagnose, and extremely difficult to treat. And insurance companies don't pay for Lyme treatment, so you have to
Mm,
pay out of pocket.
mm,
Celiac is what I got from Lyme disease. It attacked my intestines. There is no cure for celiac disease, but there's a solution. And
mm.
I don't remember the percentage. Don't quote me on this, but I think maybe 1 to 2 is a low percent. But in the big scheme of how many people have celiac disease, it's still a lot of people. They don't respond 100% to the gluten-free diet. Like, they suffer. They really suffer. But
Mm.
the solution to celiac is to adhere to a lifetime um, adherence to 100% gluten-free diet. Like, no gluten. can't cheat. You know, if you have celiac disease, you're not going to want to cheat. It's just like a peanut allergy for people with
Mm.
a peanut allergy. That's gluten for someone with celiac. But you also have a celiac intolerance and you have celiac sensitivity. So some people may have a celiac intolerance or sensitivity and they don't have celiac disease. So they won't die, you know, if they eat gluten, like if you continue to
Mhm.
eat it with celiac, but they do get the symptoms. So they don't even know that they have it. You know, 80%, so there are over 3 million cases in the United States, and 80% of those people don't even know that they have celiac disease. And so they're suffering needlessly because people think it only affects your stomach, but that's just not true. It wreaks havoc on, it's poison if you shouldn't have it in your body. So imagine it's not gonna just target just one area of your body. It causes pain, you know, just all kinds of stuff. It's a long list of things that it can cause. So there's no cure for it, but if you can get a proper diagnosis and just stay away from the gluten, I mean, across the board, which means you're going to have training. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to eat gluten, because most people don't even know what gluten is. They just know
Mhm.
the word gluten free. That's the extent. And they'll say, I eat gluten free. No, you don't. You don't even really
Mm.
know what gluten is. And so the only way to be able to, and gluten, last thing I want to say about it is that it robs children, you know, and adults too, of so much, you know, of their lifestyle, because so many people aren't aware of, you know, the effects of it. But yeah, I
Mm.
have it all. But you know, with gluten free, once with celiac, once you get that right diagnosis and you get your diet lined up and stuff, you'll have a, you know, almost a normal life.
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow. All right. Wow. That's kind of eye-opening. One other thing that I wanted to share is that I remember one time myself and Dominic, we belong to a group on Facebook, Stronger Together. One time we were talking about egg root oil, and I do have an egg root oil as part of my products that I do make. And I remember one time somebody did make a comment, and you responded by saying that we shouldn't promise anybody, no one can promise anybody egg growth. And I held on to that, I held on to that statement. And it made me to go back to my own formulation. As I sat down, I started doing some research about alopecia. And now when I sell the hair growth oil, I tell people, I said, it's only for temporary hair loss.
That's it.
It's
Right.
not for traction alopecia. If you're constantly braiding your hair, pulling on your edges, it's not going to work. If
Right.
you have genetic alopecia, you have if it's something to do with the blood or with your genes, it's not going to work. It's just temporary.
That's
It's a
right.
temporary, and I've had people come back to say, "Oh, the hair oil worked." When they come back
Yes.
to me and say it worked, I say, "You don't, that means you didn't have any problem. You were just losing your hair temporarily."
For
And I've
hair
had
care.
people, yeah, for your care. And
Mhm.
I've had people who have used it for months and they see no difference. And then when they get back to me and like, I didn't really notice any difference, I said, stop buying it. What you have is not a temporary hair loss. You have something deeper than that. And you need a medical professional to be able
Mhm.
to sit down with you and diagnose it and tell you exactly what to do. And in saying that, what advice do you have for fellow Alopecians, people suffering from alopecia? What word of encouragement do you have? Because, like you said earlier, I was asking you how did you cope with yours, and you said you had to suppress it. You just came to the reality that this is it. This is what I have. But
Yeah.
for most people, it's difficult. And now I'm saying to myself, this is nothing compared to you being completely bald. It's
Mhm.
nothing compared to that. And how do you encourage this set of people?
Mhm. I use what I went through. And then I also use, because I do, you know, well, maybe not quite a few of these, but each time I do one of these type of interviews, I learn so much. So I've been doing forums on Zoom where I've been a participant in forums on Zoom where it's all bald women. And because I get to hear all of their stories, and then I know why I do what I do. I really didn't know. I just was doing it. I didn't know why. I just knew I had to do it. But now I know why I do what I do, because people need encouraging, but they also need to understand that this journey is different for everyone. So I'm sitting here now with this bald head, and there are so many people that want to do what I'm doing. They're tired, but they may not have the support from their husbands. If they're men, they may not have the support from their wives. I've heard women say that people have left them. Their husbands want them to wear wigs. During intimacy, it reminds them of a man. So I've been blessed in that I have a husband who kept telling me to shave it all off. It's hot. I just think you're going to be fine without it, you know. But I see in my journey, since I've become bald, that other people don't have this. So what I say to them is, it's almost like kind of get in where you fit in, meaning, you know, do whatever it is you need to do to make it through the day, so to speak. Because for some people, like, they literally want to commit suicide. Like I know people, and I wish you could see how beautiful. I'm talking fashion models, and, you know, people that's all over Instagram. And if you only knew, I mean, they hate themselves. They hate how they look. And what I want, if I could just say to them, is that, do you really hate how you look, or do you hate how other people think you look? Like, because you see this face of yours every day for all of your life. You can't just hate this face just because it doesn't have something at the top of it. Your face hasn't changed. You don't have hair. So, you know, but your face is the same. And I see a lot of pictures side by side. Like, you may see them sometimes, if, you know, of like a bald person with hair and without hair, and every single time, hands down, they look 100% better without the hair, and they'll say it too, but they're still not, and they love how they look, but and they'll say stuff like, I'll be bald in my house, and I'm so confident, but outside of my house, it's no, I would rather die first than to come outside. And what I try to get them to see is that if you like how you look in your home with no hair, then you like how you look outside of your home without hair. It's just the opinions of others that is, you know, just keeping you in bondage, just keeping you in chains. Try to free yourself, if at all possible. You know, do the things that's going to make you feel good about yourself when you're in your home, when you're outside of your home. And understanding that as long as if you're hiding, some people just like weeds, and I'm not talking to those people, but if you're hiding behind it, which millions are, then the longer you do it, the longer you're prolonging your freedom. And once you get a taste of the freedom, but you have to say to yourself, and you have to mean it, like it has to get inside, that your opinion of me is your business. I have nothing to do with how you feel about how I look. Like, I don't want to wear weaves anymore, hair all over my bathroom floor, and everywhere you look, it's hair all over the place. And I'm okay without it. So if you don't like my bald head, then just don't look at me. And so it's like, that's really what it all boils down to in a nutshell, is how you see yourself. How, you know, how you see yourself, and to lean, you know, on, for me, I just lean on God. I just try not to even deal with it in my own strength, because I can see how you can get caught up in depression. But if you know, and I know this sounds cliche, but this is what I've had to do. I've had to like convince myself to trust God in this, because He knew this day was coming before it even came. He knew that, Mother's Day of 2018, I was going to shave all of my hair off. And he knew that I was going to be talking to you right now. So obviously it was meant for me to be like this. So, for those, believers especially, I can talk to even more so, because I can say to them, embrace who God says you are, not who they say you are. Yeah.
True. True. And I also believe that there's beauty in diversity. God created all of us to be different. We cannot all have the straight hair. God wants me to be afro and kinky. I don't have the bone straight hair. We just all have to be comfortable in what God has given us. I guess that's the problem that the world is facing today. We're not comfortable in what God has given us, what God has ordained us to be. We want to be a different person. And that's when there's the problem. That's where the problem comes from, trying to be who you're not. And I think the problem with that is when you start functioning in the office that you're not supposed to be, there's room for all kinds of error, because that was not your original plan. So you said it all. Embrace the way that God created you to be. Some things are just beyond you. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep moving and swing it, whichever way you can swing it. All right. What do you think is the current statistics of people who suffer from alopecia in the United States? Because it's common. It's not, alopecia is not strange. That word might be a big word for some people, but it's just hair loss. Hair loss is not strange. What do you think is the statistics right here in the United States?
I like to use the words that Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, I don't know if you know who she is. So I'm on top of all the Baldy beauties. And she's like, we are 7 million strong. So it's like, we're so on my Instagram page, Our Free Dome, what I say is that we're normalizing being bald. There is no way. Okay, so 7 million, that's a lot of, and that's just in the United States. That's a lot of people. But but still somehow is rare. And I don't see how, because I see bald people every day, all day long. But other people, they just don't. And so the number is staggering. And and the reason I think that it may seem so rare is because a lot of baldies are still covering up. They haven't embraced it yet. And so, because we definitely don't, it doesn't seem like there's 7 million people just walking around with no hair. To people that have hair, but we know that they exist. And I think it's just a lot of them are still just covering up. But I want to change that and have it so we have a whole bunch of bald heads walking around feeling free and, and not having to cover up.
All right, thank you. In 2 minutes, we're going to round up. If you're here online and you're watching us, Dominique Cooper is the CEO of Oni Natural. She's into skincare and scalp care. And one question that's been at the back of my mind I was going to ask you is, do you have to be completely bald to be able to, do I have to be completely bald to be able to use your product?
Yes.
Okay.
Because because so it's I have an exfoliator. You don't want to exfoliate hair, to get off. And then I have a cleanser, and the cleanser. Other people could use it, but it's recommended for it. I formulated specifically for bald beauties and broads. So I would say yes.
So a regular person cannot just buy the cleanser.
They can buy the cleanser and they can buy the daily restorative oil, and then it will work fine. It will, but that's not what I formulated it for. But if they, wanted to use it, if somebody wanted, like a regular cleanser, or I'll just send them to you. How about that? Because I formulated my products specifically for the bald community, to be honest. So my ingredients are more so for scalp care. Now, scalp care is for hair as well. We know that. You can't separate the two. But my ingredients are, like most people wouldn't know if they have hyperpigmentation on their scalp. And see, I have an ingredient in mind to take care of that. So I would keep it, you know, for bald beauties and bros, alopecians and baldies.
Okay, and it's not limited to women. Men can buy it.
And children.
And children. Okay.
And children, yep. It's safe for men, women, and children.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Dominic. Today's topic has been very informative. Thank you so much. I learned something new today, and I learned something that I will take with me for the rest of my life. That is what is very important to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Ola.
Thank you, and I hope that very soon I'll be see you again. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that joined. I think I have some of your friends with us online. Somebody kept on saying you look chic and amazing, so they might know you. And somebody said our freedom, so they might know you. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Focus Man. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dominic. God bless you.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye, guys. Thank you.
Mommy, I just want to say, can we go to school tomorrow?
There's no school today.
Tomorrow. I can just pull it down.
All right. I'm trying to get off this thing, but...